We are so honored to have Josh Newton and Idalina Alfie with us today. So Josh Newton is an independent consultant focused on global political processes and governance related to water. Acting as a connector in the international water community. 14 years ago in 2011, he created Josh's Water Jobs, which I'm sure many of you have already visited at least once. And it was as a way to add value to the water and wash community and mentor others on career development. I'm also so pleased today to welcome Idalina Alfie, who is the Regional WASH Director of World Vision's Southern Africa region. And she brings more than 18 years experience to the role, including 9 years leading World Vision Mozambique WASH program. And as a regional director, she provides World Vision's Southern African offices with focused leadership and guidance, and towards the achievement of sustainable WASH outcomes and their contribution to child well-being objectives. And she's responsible for a whole host of things, everything from external engagement to strategic partnerships for advocacy, policy influence, and resource development. So Josh, I'm going to turn to you for the first question. You have talked often about the limited number of entry-level positions in the sector. And so I want to ask you, what are 2 tips you would have for somebody starting out? Do they need to start in the sector if they're struggling to find the right level entry job, or could they start somewhere else and shift into water and wash? Over to you.
All right. Thank you, Catherine. And it's a pleasure to be here again this year. We had a great time last year. So yeah, a few tips for number one, and what helped me when I was young, and I still use this net today, is to really to put yourself out there. You kind of have to create your own luck in many ways to find a job. So it's not enough just to apply for jobs on Josh's Water Jobs or online. There is a statistic out there that 85% of jobs are gotten through people's networks and who they know. And this is for any job. So that's so putting yourself out there. I say ask career advice to anybody you think would have something useful for you, and that's not only senior people but your peers as well, because we all have different experiences that have the potential to add value to our own search. And then do your research. This is something that I run into even when people are applying to jobs, or when they're asking about jobs or asking about an organization. It really is telling when they've done their research on the organization, you yourself, maybe as the hiring manager, and to really become familiar so you can ask really good questions, astute, intelligent questions, to show and demonstrate who you are as a professional. So those would be my kind of top line tips. There's many others, and I'm sure we'll get into those as the hour progresses.
No, I think those are really good tips. Welcome, Idalina. We wanted to start with your first question being, what have you found to be the most impressive quality in someone that you've interviewed?
Hi, thank you so much for that question. Apologies, I'm having some challenges with my internet. Yes, as Josh said, I would highlight first the research. It's really important when you have a candidate that comes with some information, some research done in terms of the organization, in terms of the position that is applying to. It's really important, but also a great communication, someone that is really confident in terms of what is saying, someone that it's not arrogant. Sometimes we found candidates that they go there, they know that they have the skills, the knowledge, and go with some arrogance to the interview. But it's really important to communicate with clarity, without arrogance, to show what is able to do, the knowledge that he or she has on that position, and also the added value that is bringing to the organization. For me, it's really important. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. I wanted to ask both of you what tips you would have for people who are early in their careers, right? So we know that we've got a lot of individuals on the call today or in the event today that only have their educational degree in water, right? So not a lot of work experience, or maybe they've got 1 or 2 internships and volunteering positions. So how can those people make themselves seem more valuable to people who are in a position to hire them when they're so nascent without kind of paid work experience? So happy for either of you to start off taking that and run with it. Idalina, feel free to start.
Let me go first. For someone that doesn't have experience, I would like to recommend or to highlight, first of all, take advantages in terms of the internships. To gain some experience and also to emphasize some skills that was able to gain through education, through volunteering, through other relevant jobs. Also, it's really, really important to tailor the CV or the cover letter for each job that person is applying. I will not recommend like a one size fits all, like one CV fits to all the jobs that the person is applying to. It's really important to customize the CV based on the job that person is also applying. Also, it's good to explore networking, attending like workshops, being part or join professional organizations, or connecting with professionals from that area. It's always good, but also show that interest to learn. I would also recommend that for people that are really starting over.
No, I like that. And I like what you said about highlighting the skills. And I think that actually takes some time. Like we're quite quick to go, oh, that wasn't an important job. And I remember when I was starting out my career, I read a book and it was sort of how to do this. And they took someone, they said, this person has waited tables at a restaurant. And you looked at what she had written for the CV, and it was, I am good at multitasking because I have worked in a high demand job where I've had to memorize things and keep orders right. And she took these skills that you don't think, oh, waitressing is about multitasking and detail oriented and all of these things. And those apply to other jobs and other experiences that employers really want. So yeah, no, I think taking that time to pull out those skills is really important. And I like what you said about customizing the CV. I'll just share another thing that I do. I actually have what I call my master CV. So every time I apply for a new job and I've rewritten how I did something to fit for that job, I plop it in there. And now it's a lot easier to just look through that and go, oh yeah, this version of what I did, this is the one I want to put here. And yeah, I feel like as you go, it's so much harder to remember what you did 2 jobs ago. Sometimes it's hard to remember what you did 6 months ago on a job, right? If you've been changing what you've done a lot. But over to you, Josh. What do you think?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with both of you more with all of those, especially the tailoring of the CV, because I think a lot of people, I mean, nobody wants to do it because it's a pain, but I don't like to do it. But it's really important because also it shows how interested you are, and it really, because having the CV and what you offer match the job description, match the job. That's what's going to help you get the job. But kind of just elaborating a little more on what you all have said is I think like being curious, I think is really important. About asking questions, asking intelligent questions. And as Idalina said, going to like, yeah, conferences, webinars, workshops, that networking, just engaging and literally talking to as many people as possible and learning, and getting your face out there, to have people become familiar with you. I think that's really it's really important, because again, it's about the community you're in, often about getting a job. And then yeah, Catherine, what you were saying about waiting tables. And we might get into this, and it's also linked to a question of when you're shifting careers, you're changing within career, there's transferable skills. So you can come from a completely different sector, but no matter what, you're going to have transferable skills from a different part of the water sector, wash sector, or even outside of those. You'll bring in skills that often are highly desirable. And so it's really important to think about what those are, frame them, translate them into the water wash sector language when you are applying, and especially during the interview process.
Yeah, no, I think that's really great. I'm just going to do a quick odd plug, maybe. We often have had people talk about being excited about these virtual career days because they're not in a position to attend conferences and events live in person for whatever reason. And y'all have introduced yourselves in the chat. So go through that chat and look and see if there's somebody, maybe they're located in a place that you've wondered about working. Maybe they're doing something that you think is interesting. Find them on LinkedIn and say, hey, we were in this webinar on career days together. Can we have a coffee chat? Let me hear a little bit about you, right? So this is an opportunity today, even though this is a webinar, we don't always think about networking during a webinar. We are trying to make that possible for you. So I just want to throw that out there for everyone attending live. I'd like to now go to do our second poll. And so we asked you when you registered, what questions you would like asked today. And we know that there can be a variety of reasons why people may register for something and not be able to attend live. And that's one of the reasons we asked for those pre-registration questions. And so what we've done is we've pulled in some of the top questions that were asked. And so we'll launch that poll now. And what we're going to ask is that everyone live vote on what is the one question from this poll that you really want answered today. I'll give you a second to read all of the options, and then we'll ask some of those questions. And yes, there will be a recording that is shared after the meeting. We'll be editing it and putting it up on YouTube. All of our sessions for today and tomorrow will be recorded. And we will be sharing all of those with everyone later this week or early next week once they're up online. I can see that question in the chat. Okay, I'm going to give a little bit more time. There are a lot of you online, which is really exciting. I know it might take some of you a little bit longer to decide which of these questions you want. I think they're all really interesting. So factors that limit the type of work it can do. How can I find a fulfilling job with limitations, whether those be disability or caregiving? At what point in our career will we say is the right time to move or start? And do we see career and professional developments among youth in Africa? How to start a career in water wash where you might not have sector contact, who can be a reference for you? And then the final option is how about civil engineers versus water engineers. Okay. So giving that one more minute. Okay, and we're going to end the poll now. And so, oh wait, and share the results. We've got some good questions here. It looks like, hold on, I can't see all of the answers. Okay, it looks like how to start when you might not have a contract is the top one, followed by when is the right time to move. So I'm going to open this up to our panelists. The question for you, and just unmute or speak up, whoever would like to start. How to start a career in water and wash when you might not have any sector contact who can be a reference or an advocate for you?
Okay, I'll jump in. I think For me, many of the things that I've already mentioned, but I think for me, if I were starting somewhere new, I would be asking advice. And again, it's not only to senior people in the sector, but also to your peers, about what the sector is like, where's good to work, who are the good bosses, asking questions about what types of jobs there are available. But it is, and just having no fear in asking people to talk to you. Usually people love to give advice. They love to be asked to give advice. So I think that's a great way when you don't have any contacts. This can come through an email. It doesn't have to be at a conference or in one of these. You can just shoot them an email, a LinkedIn message, and ask to have an online conversation or an exchange through email. All these things work. But I think it's really just having no fear. The worst that they're going to say is no, and 90+% of the time they're going to say yes. And so I think that's a way to get started, to get people familiar with you, and then they'll recommend people in turn that you talk to, and then by like that, your network, your community grows.
That's great. Thanks, Josh. Idelina, anything you would like to add or build on that?
Yeah, sure. I will say marketing yourself. I would also highlight attending like conferences, being there. I remember I was talking with someone that now it's in a very senior position, and I asked how she get there. And she told me that, well, Idelina, you know what? When I was young, I was like attending conferences, meetings, and I was like going there with my CV, approaching people, communicating with people, giving them my CV. And fortunately, one day, she found a job in Sudan, for example, in a contest that in a humanitarian contest that is also good for people that doesn't have experience also to start. But I would also highlight that they need to ask questions, try to connect with people, LinkedIn, use the advantage of the technology, networking. It's really, really good. But also update yourself with the knowledge that we have in the industry, the wash industry. It's really, really, really good to have that knowledge. So it will also help to understand the sector, and also to engage in case you have opportunity to participate or to attend an interview. Yes, I would highlight those points. Yeah.
I think that's amazing. Thank you. So we actually have a tie
Mm.
for second place for two of the questions at 23%, which is great. So Idelina, I'm going to ask you to start this, and then maybe Josh will have something he wants to add. But the last question was really of interest. So in Africa, it feels quite difficult to find a job at an international water organization. So what are your tips, particularly for those who might have local, national, even regional, but not international experience, to be of interest to such employers and to be taken seriously in the candidate consideration? Over to you.
I like one thing that Josh said, make your face familiar. Yeah, make your face familiar. For example, myself, now I'm working with World Vision, but I didn't start with World Vision. And one thing that I did myself was basically to be there, attending meetings, knowing people, connecting with people, asking questions, and also be willing to learn. And for me, it was not a matter of knowing someone there, but I saw an advertisement and I applied. And when I went there, I was put on the table all the knowledge, all the experience, and also the contribution that I could do for that organization. So knowing people is not everything, but it's really important for you to know, to show there what you are able to do, your contribution to that organization. So it's really important to update yourself with knowledge, to also to be able to show what you are able to contribute to give to that organization, also to grow. Yes.
That's wonderful. And I was going to say, I don't know when I was starting out that there was such a clear focus on the need to network and seeing going to meetings and things as being um how part of your job is maybe the right way to say it. Instead of just something that was extra if you had time for. So I'm loving this conversation and really helping everyone that's joining us. We have over 122 people live right now, just to say. Um, be able to hear that and see that. So the last question that was tied, and so Josh, I'll turn this one to you to start us off with is, at what point in your career would you say is the right time to either move or start a new career? And what are the top factors to consider?
Well, add a little bit to the last question too, and I think
Oh, sorry,
engaging
go ahead.
as if you don't have international experience, I think joining international associations, member associations, youth associations that are related to water that give you that exposure. And also another one is if your organization, company, whatever works internationally, it's slowly try to work over to the international aspect of that, show interest that you want to work internationally. But those are just two small tidbits to try to get more international exposure to add to your CV. And career shift when? So there's no, like for much of this, there's no one size fits all to answer to this. And it's very personal, these thresholds that you arrive at when it's time to move forward or laterally, vertically. There's a lot of different ways to think about it. And like I mean actually in the process of this myself. I'm leaving my water, in theory I'm leaving all my water quote unquote work behind, and I'm going into a different part, and I'm trying to focus on the website, Josh's Water Jobs, as my career. And so I was thinking about this question and what happened with me to arrive at that. And one, I got burned out. Another was I felt like I had stopped learning. Um, Another was I felt like I could have more impact with the website versus the other work I was doing, even though that I was having impact there too. Um, so I think it could be many things. It could be that you just start a family. It could be that you have to move for whatever reason. So there's a lot of factors at play, and there's no right or wrong when trying to think about this. It's a very personal choice about, okay, yeah, it feels like it's time to move on to something different. And that could be within Water and Wash itself, or it could be actually leaving or joining the water sector.
No, thank you, Josh.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you, Josh, when you say that there is no one size fits all. It can be a matter of you feel like, well, there is no any other challenge for me in this position. So it's time for me to move, probably to learn or to do something different. And also family issues, but also you feel like, well, probably my contribution, it's not, I did my contribution and now it's time for me to do something different. So there's no one size fits all, but it's a personal thing and for you to evaluate your contribution, how you feel in that position at that moment. And you will realize that, well, it's now time for me to move to the next stage. Yes.
Oh, that's perfect. I was going to just say to everyone, please do put some live questions in the chat. I want to make sure we get to your questions, but it turns out that one of the questions already asked is such a perfect fit with what we were just talking about. I'm going to jump in and ask that. So thank you for the person who said, I've had a career break and I've been away from WASH for a while. So how do I get back in? Which sort of perfectly dovetails with, okay, I decided to leave. It was the right time, but now for whatever reason, I'm ready to come back in. How do I do that? What's the best way to come back? Either of you who would like to take that?
I'll jump in. Yeah, I mean, it's about kind of reinvigorating that network, that community that you had before, and getting up to speed on the new. I think Idilina mentioned this before about like the knowledge and what's the know-how, the new wisdom, research it, depending what you're going into, but get up to date on what's going on in the sector, and then just refamiliarize yourself with the people, and then reach out to old contacts, and yeah, conferences. It's really just about, I think, refamiliarizing yourselves and then preparing your CV for making that pitch about your skills, that you've actually probably got many more wonderful skills in what you've just been doing, and how to translate that into how those can be useful for the WASH sector.
That sounds great. Idalina, just want to give you the chance to add on to that if there's anything.
Sure. Yeah. It's really important for that person to reconnect with the sector, with the knowledge. What's knowledge. Also, to be able to show in terms of what added value is bringing. Because yeah, he was in another position, he went to another sector, now he's coming back. So it's really important to highlight the added value of that extra experience that that person is bringing. So reconnect and also update, being able to reconnect with the new knowledge and this what's going on in the sector. Yes.
So I'm going to ask a question that you may not have thoughts and insights into, but it's come up as the next one on the list. So there's been a lot of stuff happening globally, and a lot of cuts to aid funding for a range of reasons. We see this particularly from anyone who was planning on US based government funding, so USAID or maybe connected to that in some way. How do you see that affecting the job market for the WASH sector? And does that mean that now might be a good time to think about broadening job searches for the moment and coming back? Because we've been talking a lot about, you will get transferable skills. But at the same time, this is such a critical need. And we're all still hoping for the SDGs to see real progress in the next 5 years. So I know that's a challenging question, and I don't expect either of you to have a crystal ball, and certainly not secret insider information, but just any thoughts, Josh?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I've been getting this question a lot, obviously,
Yeah.
over the past few weeks, month. And yeah, there is no crystal ball. I mean, it hurts. There definitely is going to be a downsizing of the WASH workforce out there, just because there's just not going to be as much money, because USAID was a significant contributor to WASH worldwide. The hope is that the gap will be filled by others. So and it's something we can't see how it's gonna pan out. But you hope that other government development partners will step in. It's possible the private sector will step in. You would hope that the local, regional would step in, because it's not like that it's not needed. Like this is needed everywhere, and I think most governments recognize that. So it's just a question about how, what's going to happen. Anecdotally, I haven't looked at the data of the last month, but yes, there already is an impact on the jobs, the number of jobs in WASH in particular. And that it's mostly the USAID funded projects that are out there. I can see that NGOs are hiring less, and some of the big firms that are out there implementing are hiring less, or not at all now. So yeah, but there probably will be a lull, and I expect there'll be some kind of rebound, but we'll see what that actually looks like, to what extent that will be.
That sounds great. Yeah, thanks. I had figured that you had probably gotten this question before today. So, Idalina, anything that you want to add to that, or should we move on to the next question?
I'm happy to go to the next question. I believe
Okay.
that Josh covered it very, very well.
No, I think he did too, but I'd just like to be fair. So we've talked about some of these. Let's see. This is really interesting. So I don't have a WASH background and I don't have technically a water background, right? I have a chemistry and international relations background, just to share for this question. So I like this question, which is how important is it to have a degree that perfectly aligns with WASH to have a career in this field? What if I have a different background? I have technical limitations. I don't know whether I should go back and get something that is a degree specific to WASH in order to be relevant, or if I should stay in the current position and gain experience through field work. So this is somebody who's been working on WASH projects for 2 years, but doesn't have a WASH educational degree and is trying to figure out what they need to do. So Idalina, do you want to take that one, and then we'll let Josh add on anything?
Sure, I will take that one. Let me say that my background is not engineering. Sometimes when people look at WASH, the WASH sector, we look at the civil engineering, for example. I'm sociologist. I did public health. I did socioeconomics of development. So WASH is not only about construction. It's not about the hardware only. We call it the construction side, the hardware. We also have the software side. One of the challenges that we have in the sector is how to achieve the SDGs for sanitation and hygiene, for example, and it requires a lot of understanding people's behavior. We need people that are able to deal with the software side, behavior change issues. We also need people that are able to help us to strategize in terms of how to get funds to implement our WASH activities, how to collaborate, how to engage other partners. So we need people with different skills and different backgrounds to come and to contribute to the WASH sector. I saw a question from someone that is more about it's a tech or IT person. Now we are talking about demonstrating impact through using tools, through live reporting, for example, using technology to show what we are doing, where we are doing, using GPS, for example, GIS technologies to show the work that we are doing in the WASH sector. So we need people that are bringing skills in terms of technologies, in terms of IT. So the WASH sector is really can include everyone, people from different backgrounds. So we all have a space, to contribute. It's not all about hardware. Let's also look the other side of the WASH sector. Yes, over.
No, that's really wonderful. Yeah, I know that there are a lot of WASH projects that have failed because they did a beautiful piece of infrastructure, but they didn't look at community behavior, community needs, and they built something that wasn't fit for purpose or that didn't reach the whole community. And so it fell by the wayside. They didn't think about operation and maintenance and who was going to work on it in the coming years to keep it going. So I think that's just completely spot on. We're getting a lot more questions, so I want to make sure that we have time. So Josh, if you're okay, I'm going to keep going. Great. So interesting question. Next one is I want to make a transition from being technically oriented. So design office, design of sewers and water pipes, to apology and strategy side, in which I have no experience whatsoever. How can I move from this very technical to the strategy piece? How do I make that transition? Josh, any first thoughts, and then we can go to Idalina.
Sure. I think this happens, and it happens in the other direction as well, where some people get tired of just working on policy and they want to get their hands dirty and work on the technical side. And I think that there's a few ways to go about doing it. One would be to go back to school in a way, and that's to get another, and not like go back to another bachelor's or master's. You can go, you get certificates, so you just get a little bit more experience in that. That's probably the on one end of the spectrum. Another is within the current job, and it's likely that someone or some department within your organization works on policy. It's that it's again kind of sidling over to express interest in working on that side of things, or being able to attend part of that project, or yeah, be included on those side of things, to try to get experience little by little within your current position, to not have to try to apply to something new without having that experience. And so it's just kind of building that out within your current situation, to kind of slowly move over to the other side. So, but I'm sure actually Idilina has actually experience on the ground with this. So
Yeah, Idalina, please.
Sorry, can you come again with the question? I had a cut. Yeah.
No, that's fine. So we're just saying tips for people moving from a technical, right, like designing
Okay.
sewer pipes, like incredibly technical, wanting to move to the policy strategy side, not having that experience. And so Josh was saying you could get a certificate, you could work internally with the people
Sure.
working on policy, and kind of build that experience in your current role. So just
Yeah.
asking what other thoughts you might have.
Yeah, basically, if you want to move to a different area, it's really good to update your knowledge, yeah, and learn about that sector. You want to move from the hardware to the strategy side. It's really important to interact with people, to ask questions about that, to update your knowledge. And there's probably sometimes there is no need for you to go back to school. We have a lot of online trainings, online opportunities that we can take advantage of it, but we really need to update. And also, if you have that plan, it's also a good idea to try it slowly, probably interacting more, engaging more with people that are already doing that. So learn from people that are already doing, yeah, in your organization, in your job, and see how they are also doing that. Yeah.
No, I think that's really good. And also just know, like, the policy people, particularly if they're not technical experts, are dying to talk to you. Okay. As a policy person, I like some of the best conversations I've had have been with technical experts. And I go, okay, so I think, we're looking at this from a policy angle and we think this. And then they go, okay, but not on the ground. Like, here are the 5 problems. I'm like, I had no idea that those were problems. And they're like, yes, we're seeing it in this area, we're seeing it in this area. It's like, okay, so this policy won't address what we thought it was going to. Okay, so we need to go back to the drawing board, or we need to consider. And then the people that you've talked to on the policy side will go, wow, this person really knows that they care about the policy, and we have these conversations. And so I just want to really encourage what both of our experts have said about that important conversation with those people. And if they're not in your current organization, find them through your networks and have those conversations. And again, that gets you out there and sort of in people's head as someone who's thinking about this. Believe it or not, we are at the point for final advice from our experts. This hour is flying by. So Josh and Idalina, I'm going to just give you 10 seconds. We've talked about a lot of stuff. We've talked about everything from, right, I feel like there's some really strong themes of get yourself out there, whether that is online, educate yourself, find these online resources, talk to people. There's networking, going to workshops and international events, or anything that you can. Be confident in reaching out to people. They will most likely say yes if you ask for a coffee, and if they don't, just assume they're busy. But what is your final piece of advice? And you can focus on starting and shifting careers, or you can pick one of them. Idalina, could we ask you to lead us in final thoughts?
Well, my final thoughts. Well, yes, update your knowledge, communicate, networking, marketing yourself. But also, I didn't mention that it's really important for people to be willing to go to difficult and challenging contests. Myself, I started in the rural area, very remote areas. So it's also important for people to go to places that the skilled and the experienced people, they don't want to go there. So probably it's a good start as well. Over.
Thank you. And Josh, final thoughts.
Stick with it. I know it can be really rough sometimes. I've gone through periods where I haven't been able to find work as well. So it's just persevere, stick with it. We need you. We need people working on these issues, whether the world recognizes that or not. But yeah, persevere, stick with this. We need everybody's help and everybody on board.
All right, wonderful. Thank you both. Josh and Adalina, this has been a really amazing conversation. It's been delightful to hear from you, and thank you both so much.